Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Arc Raiders video. We have some very, very important details to go over regarding the third expedition, which departs here in a few days or begins here in a few days. They just released, Embark just released some interesting details about how the third expedition is going to work. There are a lot of changes. Everything is different from the previous ones, so we're going to take a moment here and go over all of it so you guys are well informed as to what in the heck is going on. So they have a full blog post. I'll have a link to this in the description below, but we're going to go over it so that you guys can kind of understand some of the key points that were talked about in this post. Number one, the big one, is that skill points will be earned by dealing damage over the 5-day expedition window and not stash value. So you do not need to have a stash value of 3 million in order to get your 5 skill points this time around. You just need to deal damage during the expedition window, which is a 5-day window that opens on April 28th and ends on May 4th. Okay. So it's all about damage. Players and Arc all are going to count. We don't know what that damage value is going to be. I'm sure there'll be an in-game counter when we get to that point on April 28th when the expedition opens. But the big one is no skill points are being earned by stash value. It is all about damage. So that's a really interesting one, obviously. It doesn't mean you have to grind throughout the course of the 8-week expedition to try and build up your stash value. So that's good if you're a casual player. It's also good that you can feel comfortable using all of your equipment and guns and everything because it doesn't matter anymore, right? The value of your stash no longer matters as it relates to skill points. So you're incentivized to use everything that you find since all of your stuff is going to disappear. So that's a big one. Timing wise, I just talked about it, April 28th through May 4th. Now, there's going to be some more details here in a moment. There's some really interesting things that have changed, including the last call feature, and we'll get to that. They talk about that at the end. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But so let's talk about the expedition. To be very clear, because some people still don't understand how it works. You complete the project for the expedition. There are 5 stages. Once you've completed the 5th stage, you wait for the expedition window. Okay, so you had 8 weeks to complete the 5th stage of the expedition project. Once you've completed that, on April 28th, you can log in and sign up for the expedition. You can sign up at any time between April 28th and May 4th. You sign up, and if you do so, that means that you are setting your account up to reset at the end of the period on May 4th. That's going to reset everything that you have. It's going to reset your blueprints, your stash, your currencies other than your gold Raider token currency. Obviously, all your cosmetics do not reset. But basically, it's like playing as if you're level 1. All your skill points reset. You drop down to level 1. It's like you logged in for the first time. The catch-up mechanic. Oh, before I jumped ahead. Complete the challenge. So once you've signed up, if you want to get the 5 extra skill points for the expedition, you're going to need to complete this challenge where it's all about doing damage. We don't know exactly how much damage that is. But you have to complete the challenge during the 5-day window if you want the 5 extra skill points. Catch up. So the catch up mechanic works the same as it did before. The catch up is to allow players an opportunity to gain all the skill points that they missed from a previous expedition that they did. Okay, so if you signed up for expedition number 1 and you only got 1 skill point instead of the 5, well, now when you sign up for Expedition 2, you have the opportunity to earn those 4 points that you missed. Okay, this does not mean that if this is your first expedition, you're going to be able to get 5 extra points. This is designed for a catch-up for people that just didn't get through all of the points on a previous expedition. Okay, and there will be a maximum number of skill points that are going to be allowed at some point, which is going to offer players a chance to catch up in totality to players that have done every single expedition ahead of them. But thankfully, the actual skill trees are not overpowered really in any way, shape, or form. So the 5 points here or there that you might be missing compared to some other player that's been playing a long time is not a monstrous deal by any means. Once you've done that, you've completed your catch up, you've completed your damage challenge, everyone departs on Monday at the exact same time, and everyone resets. If you chose not to do the expedition, your account is literally identical on this day. It doesn't change at all. Nothing changes for you. Your progress for everything remains the same from prior to this time on Monday. But for everyone that does sign up for the expedition, your account will be reset. So what's different? Obviously, we just talked about the big ones. Gathering coins and stash value is no longer how you get your 5 points. We talked about this. So this one is very clear. And again, this is a 5-day window during the challenge period, which is Tuesday through Sunday, ending on May 4th. So this is important to note. Once again, it is going to be damage that you do during this 5-day period, not damage prior to it. Okay, it's damage during the expedition window. All the damage you did prior to this is irrelevant. Now, catch up. Catch up works exactly the same way it did before. Players who will now be departing on their second or third expedition who missed some skill points from previous expeditions will now be able to catch up. The catch up is 300,000 coin per skill point that you missed. This is exactly the same as it was before. The only difference is that players have to complete the damage challenge first in order to unlock the catch-up mechanic. So if you're planning on doing a catch-up and you miss some skill points, you do have to do the damage challenge first. Then you can start, then your value of coin and slash dash for each missing skill point will take into effect. Another change is the trials. The trials is actually going to be available during the expedition window. Unlike last time, the trials ended like right when the expedition window started. So this time the trials is going to go through the expedition window and be available and end on the exact same time as the expedition departure. Okay, so that is also different. Not super, it's not a big deal. But why have we made these changes? Well, grinding monetary value isn't as most exciting. By introducing damage-based objectives and trials instead of stash value, we're providing more freedom and variety in how you can complete the expedition, encouraging you to use the loot rather than to hoard it throughout the 5-day window. It makes sense. It does. So we kind of sneak peeked at this at the start of the video. This is the patchwork skin. This is the final result, by the way. This will be the last pieces of the patchwork skin. And then on Expedition 4, there's going to be a new cosmetic. Obviously, Scrappy is going to get his own cosmetic. He's got a little turban. And you're going to get the 12 stash bases. Obviously, we've talked about skill points. Your base XP boost goes up by 5% to the third expedition, 6% more for Scrappy material boost, and another 10% repair value, which, by the way, the repair value of all the things, I know, including stash base and skill points are great. The repair value is so nice. I've loved this. Of anything, this might be my most valued thing about the expedition in the first place. Being able to let an item go down to 20 and then one click in and have it be 100 again is pretty nice. I won't lie. So I feel like the repair value thing has been pretty sweet. There's still more to talk about though. So the rewards we talked about, we got variation, Scrappy, new expedition indicator. That's when you're in the lobby or when someone takes you out and you're looking at the end screen. 12 stash bases. 12 stash space is guaranteed per expedition. So do not worry about that. Obviously, it's 12 every expedition. So the max that we're going to be able to be on if you complete the third expedition is going to be 316. Since everyone that's done expedition 2 is at 304 currently. We talked about the catch up. Skill points are based on the damage challenge for the 5 skill points, and the catch up skill points are granted based on coin. So this is the final result here, right? So to get your current expedition 5 skill points, it is damage in the 5-day window, and then your catch up ones, once you've completed the damage challenge, is based on 300,000 per point after that. And that's only a maximum of 5 points. There is a maximum of 5 skill points for catch up. So if you're on your second expedition, you can't catch up 10, you can only catch up 5, but you can catch up the next 5 on expedition 4. We talked about the consecutive buffs. The consecutive ones mean that if you skip an expedition, these buffs would get reset. So your repair value going from 80 could drop to 60 if you choose not to do an expedition. So very important to keep the expeditions going if you like these boosts. And as I said, I'm a huge fan of the repair value increase myself. So consecutive buffs, though, it's not the end of the world if you miss it, but these are pretty nice. There's no doubt about it. And now for the last call for departure. This is actually an extremely important thing, and I'm so glad they added this, because not only does it benefit people that aren't around, maybe you're out of town for business or pleasure or whatever, and you're not going to be able to press the button in Arc Raiders to go on your expedition. Well, thankfully, you can now go on the expedition with the last call feature. And this is extremely huge because, you know, players were, you know, frustrated not being able to kind of continue on their expedition adventure. And there were plenty of players out there that just misread it and didn't understand that they had to log in and click a button during that week, and they just expected their account to be reset on launch on the expedition day, and then they log in and their account's exactly the way it was, and they had to wait 8 weeks for it to pop again. So the last call, which is going to allow for players to click on and do the expedition on your next login. So if you miss this, if you miss the 5-day period before May 4th, the next time you log in after May 4th, right when you log in, you're going to get a pop-up with the last chance to sign up. Now, what this means is that you can trigger the expedition as long as you completed your caravan. So as long as you completed the stage 5 of the expedition previously, you can log in late and you can still do the expedition. However, because you didn't do the damage challenge, you are not going to get the 5 skill points, but you get to keep your consecutive streaks bonus for the expeditions. You get the stash base, and you'll be able to do the catch-up mechanic next season on season 4. Once we get to that expedition, you can then make up for those 5 points that you lost. But at the very least, you're not set back an entire expedition because you weren't able to log into your computer and play the game during that 5-day window. So there it is. A lot of big changes. I like everything. I love the last call. I think the last call is huge for a lot of players. I think it's extremely important for casual players to be able to have that opportunity to still do the expedition if they've missed it. But overall, I really do like the changes. I love the last call. I'm excited that we're kind of finalizing the patchwork outfit and then getting a brand new outfit that's going to come with Expedition 4. So I think that's cool. I was worried that we were going to spend all year working on the patchwork outfit. So anyway, there it is. All the new details for Expedition 3. Obviously, the skill points change is a big one. Last call is a big one. Really curious to hear your guys' thoughts about everything in the comments below. I know there's been some people, we were talking about reacting to it live today, and I know some people were a little bit disappointed. Some people were happy with it. Some people like some things and not the others. So let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one. Make sure to drop a like, and I'll see you guys next time.